Great to be with you on another edition of the USF Football Radio Show. We are in the midst of two consecutive home games. The Bulls welcome the Temple Owls to Raymond James Stadium Saturday night at 7 o'clock. We'll have a lot about that game coming up. We'll talk offensive line. Coach Allen Mogridge will be here later in the hour. Also, Demetris Harris. Right now, head coach Jeff Scott. Coach, again, as we look back to Saturday, had a kickoff return for touchdown, had an interception return for touchdown. There's a lot of positives that we'll get into in the course of this conversation, but it's a painful one when you lead for 59 minutes and then wind up 1 point short. I guess you have to learn, use it as another learning example and try to move on and continue to improve.
Yeah, there's no doubt that one Saturday hurt, and I told the guys after the game, I hurt for them because I felt like for a large amount of the game, it was one of our best games that we played since I've been here, and just seeing guys, offense, defense, a special team. The big message that I had to our guys is during the open week is we need to come out and play hungry, and I just haven't felt like we've really played hungry in any of the games leading up, and that was a big challenge, and we haven't played great starting off early in the games and those type of things, and I saw that, and I think our guys were seeing that for the first time, and just being able to see each side of the ball playing with each other, but the other reality is it still comes down to a couple plays, right? And they hurt. There was about 8 or 9 plays in the game, 2 to 3 in offense, 2 to 3 in defense, 2 to 3 in special teams. And if we execute and do what we need to do on any one of those 8 or 9 plays, then we're feeling a lot different about ourselves. And so, it was definitely difficult. It felt a lot different than the loss a year ago to Tulsa, where we really were never in it. And it was one of those things that told the guys that, hey, same thing, 24 hours. This one's going to hurt, and we're all going to have to kind of deal with that for 24 hours. But whenever we show back up over here Sunday and Monday, we got to get ready and hopefully use the performance that we had to encourage us and motivate us to do a little bit more to really be able to break through. And so that's kind of the message that we have going into this week.
Coach, I know it's hard to kind of evaluate the growth, right? Because we play a game where everybody is looking at either a win or a loss. But you sit up in the booth, from me and Jim's perspective, and one of the things I did notice is the sideline was very energetic, and it looked like your guys was enjoying playing with each other. Can you speak to that a little bit? Did that grow over the bye week, or has that always been the case?
I think 2 things. Number one, that's a very good observation because number one, we did talk about that. We need better energy on our sidelines, especially when we're at home. We have about 35 players that maybe don't dress out that are on the sidelines. That you're either adding energy or you're taking away energy. So that was one thing. So part of it is I think the guys were more conscious of it, and then the other thing is we made some plays. When you have a pick six, for a touchdown, and you have a kickoff return for a touchdown, you create that energy, and it was really one of the first times that we kind of had some of that energy rolling. But I think our guys did a better job on the sidelines. One thing I do have to do is we have too many guys going down in the end zone after a big score or something like that. The official was nice enough to give us a warning there that one time. But that's ultimately we want to create really good energy on our sideline for our guys, and they really did the majority of the game.
We talked about being aggressive in this game, and I thought it started really with the coin toss. You won the coin toss, you took the football. And for the most part, you had put the defense out there first this year. Instead, you put the offense out. You get 3 points. You take the lead. And some of the slow starts that the Bulls have had this year kind of faded into the background while the team really did well in the opening moments this game.
Yeah, each week it's probably a little bit different feel. And obviously we haven't had a lot of success. I'm changing things up, just trying to look for anything. And, I knew with this being a noon kickoff, I knew with Tulsa, traveling the furthest, they're an hour behind us. It was 11 a.m. kickoff for them. And so a big message to our guys is, hey, let's go get out in front on these guys. Like, let's come out early before maybe they have a chance to wake up, and let's get out. And also I wanted to send a message to our team that, hey, we're going to be aggressive. We're going to take the ball. And, part of not playing real well, maybe early in the first quarter or whatever. Sometimes they get the ball and go down and score, and I've just felt like we've been playing from behind a lot and wanted to do the opposite. So, I thought that was good, and we went down and got a field goal. And, I think our defense, the first 3 drives of the game, our defense held them to 3 points, which was much improvement, kind of what we're talking about, looking for progress, right? And I just think overall we haven't done a good job out of the gate defensively, and so that was some progress. On the negative side, offensively, our first 2 drives, we ended up with the ball 1st and 10 at the 28, and then the next drive 1st and 10 at the 26, and we only came away with 3 points. And so those are poor execution there on those next 3 plays. And then, looking back on it, I feel like I probably made a mistake with the fake field goal. We really thought we had a good play kind of set up that would be a touchdown play for us. And again, it was part of wanting to be aggressive early, and it was the right look. But, looking back on it, it's easy to second guess yourself. 4th and 11, and you're already 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage. It was really 4th and 18. That's probably one that I wish I could have to do over again and take those 3 points. But, overall, we're not going to apologize for being aggressive, and I feel like our guys really fed off of that.
Coach, I enjoyed that fake field goal. I really did. I thought it was great, but I understand your rationale there. When you take a look at, the troubles that offense had in the first half, they see some of the same base front that Tulsa showed in practice against their own defense. Would you say some of the troubles they had were a product of what Tulsa just got done well? Or were there a lot of missed assignments and guys just missing their keys and missing their blocks? And ultimately, that's what led to Timmy being under so much pressure. Yeah,
probably a combination. I think, number one, sometimes you got to tip your hat. They had a really good defensive front. Those guys out there on the edges were strong, and that's probably the most push that anybody's gotten against whoever we played at the beginning of this year. That was the most push that they got. We weren't used to seeing that, and, we didn't win as many of those matchups as we needed to out there on the edge. And then, I think coaching-wise, maybe we should have put Timmy in some different situations. He didn't do a great job in some of the deeper drop-back routes where he had to kind of read the entire field, and they were kind of mixing up some coverages, and then all of a sudden you get a little pressure on you, and then you take off and run, right? So we just really couldn't get the rhythm that we wanted. We knew it was going to be difficult running the ball inside the tackles because of those 3 defensive linemen, I think we had 26 plays in the first half, and then we came out in the third quarter, and it was several times in a row that the defense was out there, so we really didn't get the ball until middle of the third quarter. And really the most disappointing drives for me offensively were the last 4 drives of the game. We had the ball, but obviously the last drive there was a minute left, no timeouts, but the 3 prior to that, we literally had the ball with the lead, and if we go down and score, the game's probably over, and that's where we didn't execute. So that's probably the biggest disappointment. Obviously, it's easy to look at the kind of the 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 at the end, which we had a chance to kind of put it away. But really, it was the 3 drives leading up to that where we just kind of let our defense down, because defensively, they went, like I said, first 4 drives of the second half, we held them to no points. And so we really were giving our offense a chance, and we just offensively we couldn't really go down, execute, and score like we needed to. And so those are things coaching-wise. We have some things that we need to do a better job of, and then overall execution-wise, I think it starts up front, being able to give a little bit more time, and then Timmy's got to deliver some of those throws that we had, and it's just a few guys here and there, and you play in those tight games. That's what it comes down to, but. Overall, I'm really encouraged. I see a team that's getting better, and so that encourages me. And I see a team that's continuing to believe. And there have been plenty of teams, right? Start off 1-4 open week, that just kind of goes out in a noon kickoff and just kind of seeing what happens. And our guys, I felt like the energy they had going into that game was like we were undefeated. And so I got to find a way to keep building off of that, because we got 2 games coming up in the next 10 days. And so if we can build off of last week and not let the setback slow us down, then we're going to break through. And the difference is between this year and last year's, when we break through this year, we're going to have a chance to keep moving up. Where I felt like last year, a couple of those close games, if we'd have won it, great, but we really didn't have a foundation that we were going to be able to build off of one of those, conference wins, where now I feel like we've been making that progression, and whenever we do break through, I think you're going to continue to see us move forward.
Great.
When we talked about special teams on this show a few days back, you told us the one part of special teams you thought the Bulls weren't quite there yet was kickoff returns. In this game, Battie goes for 100. It ties the program record for longest kickoff return in USF history. Obviously, his vision was great on that, but what went right on that play?
Well, it's a lot of things. Kickoff return is a lot about timing, right? So it's the blocks. Nobody goes out and blocks the kickoff team for 6 or 7 seconds, right? There's about a 2 or 3 second where you really get those blocks, and so the timing of the catch and then everybody moving together and the blocks happening at the same time that the runner's coming through there, like that takes time, and we just haven't been on the same page this year. You remember last year we did have some success back there, but this year we really haven't. So I think that was something I give Coach DePrada a lot of credit, and the guys that are on that team. We spent a little bit extra time during the open week really working on the kickoff return because we're excited about both Battie and Jimmy Horn back there. They do have good speed, and we just hadn't quite found it, and then we did, and that was a huge momentum swing after one of their scores to be able to come back and take it. I mean, that energy that comes from that was really contagious for our entire team, and we had another opportunity there, the very last kick, because of the success we had on the first kick. I told him, hey, if you can bring it out, and literally we're one shoestring away from maybe going back for the game winner right there. So just kind of looking at that, and hopefully that'll give us some confidence moving forward, because that's really the last and final special team unit that I really needed to see take another step for us to feel the overall progress in that special teams area.
I certainly agree, and I also believe the return Weaver had would also bring some confidence, because it was one guy that stopped that from being a score. I also, and I think this is being overshadowed by USF not winning the game, but I also feel like this was a statement game for Jaren Mangum, specifically because you look at his success, 9 touchdowns, right? But he had less than 200 rushing yards. And I saw him be an every down back. I saw him get vertical, and I saw him use his vision and really create some success in the running game. And he wasn't your starter in the beginning of the season. So talk about his progression as a running back and what has led to you all being confident in him being the every down back and not just the short yardage guy.
Yeah, and kind of like we talked about a little bit, you're coming in as a new guy to the room, right? You got to kind of start in the back of the line, and he's got to kind of learn our system and what we're doing, and we got to kind of learn him and see what he can do. And obviously with his size and strength, it was easy for him early on to kind of get out there in some of the short yardage situations or goal line situations. But he has a lot of other tools for his game where he can be an every down back. And so we, again, kind of going back to that open week, you have a little bit more time to kind of teach and coach some of the new guys and kind of correct some things. I think overall we just, both coaching wise and, up front, we just weren't consistent enough against their scheme and what we needed to do. And, I don't regret the decision there at the end and in the 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1. I don't regret going for it, but I do after kind of going back and looking at it and just being honest, I regret the call. There's probably a different scheme that we could have done there, and so that's something that we'll learn from, because we're going to be in that situation again. And but yeah, we're pleased with Jaren's progress, and I think he's going to continue to get better and be comfortable within our scheme and what we're doing, and I look for him to have an excellent second half to the season.
All right, stay with us. More to come. The Bulls and Temple Saturday night at Raymond James Stadium. We'll look ahead to that game and also talk a little offensive line in our next segment with Coach Scott when we return after this on the USF Football Radio Network. Welcome back to USF Football Radio Show. We're home again this weekend, Saturday night, 7 o'clock, Raymond James Stadium for the Bulls and Temple. Coach, a lot to look forward to in the wide receiver core? We were excited in the last game about the two transfer guys who made big plays. USF Terry getting his first 2 USF catches, and DeMarcus Gregory, maybe the catch of the year, that over-the-shoulder, staying in bounds on the sideline right near you guys on the USF sideline. Those two guys had some nice games.
Yeah, that was great to see, because obviously, Weaver's had a really good year, and, it's easy to throw the ball to him, but for us to really be balanced in our passing game, we need more guys to step up, and really we need to give them some opportunities, and this was one of those games that we really knew that we wanted to give DeMarcus some opportunities on some balls down the field, and then also with Yusuf, so it was good. I think those guys have really complemented our room really well. And I think there's we saw Jimmy against SMU. We've seen OD a little bit. I think OD really he's kind of the guy that's waiting, and I think he's ready for a breakout game at some point. He's been practicing extremely well, and so it's really good to see progress from both of those guys in this game, and hopefully we'll be able to continue finding them and not having to force feed everything to Weaver here down the stretch.
Coach, your second-level players on defense, Vincent Davis, Dwayne Boyles, and Antonio Greer, all showed some phenomenal flashes. Obviously, Antonio Greer with the touchdown. Vincent Davis led the team in tackles. They didn't start the season that strong. Are you surprised at all with the level of production they had? I mean, I'm sure there were some probably miscues and missed assignments, but they all were very productive. Are you surprised at all, or have you seen the growth in practice?
Well, I felt like, especially with Greer, he hasn't been 100%. I kind of said this last week during the open week is, the open week's not just for the guys that maybe have missed games because they're out, but it's also for those guys like Greer that have played a ton of snaps and they get beat up, and maybe we don't have a ton of depth at some of those spots. Those guys are having to play a lot of snaps, but I felt like this open week allowed Greer to get back, and that's what I told him out there. I said, it's the first time I've seen you really all year kind of get back to playing full speed, and what I remembered in a lot of the games last year, and he was. I mean, he was all over the place. I mean, he had the calls fumble, and he recovered it himself, and then he had the pick six, and I mean that was an impressive run that he had right there. I haven't seen him run that fast in a while, so I think that was really good for him. And then just like you said, Vincent Davis, he's a guy, again, Vincent, he's playing a position where we don't have a whole lot of depth there, so he's having to play a lot of plays, and he was banged up a little bit in the course of the game, and as soon as he'd get back where he felt good, he would go right back in there. And watching the video on Sunday, both of those guys really stood out to me as guys that were playing downhill, that were playing physical, that were trying to knock guys back, and Boyles made some good plays as well. So that was encouraging to see, and hopefully that'll be something that they can build off of, because that's where we need to get better. I mean, ultimately, I think we've done a better job from a scheme standpoint the last couple of weeks. You haven't seen guys just running wide open or something like that, but where we still have to get better, there were several times where we had the guys in the backfield, right, and we had a chance for a tackle for a loss, for a 2-yard loss, and now it's going to be 3rd and 12, and instead we don't have the great form, we don't get them down, and they run for 16. Right, and those add up over time, and especially when you're playing these games like we're in now, they're going to be close games. So there's a lot of really good pictures, but I think we got to get the consistency of making those base hits that are there, and not just always worried about a home run. It's the consistency of playing fundamentally sound and being where you're supposed to be and wrapping up. So definitely seeing some progress, but there's still a lot of plays out there that we can make. And our guys are committed to working hard to get that done.
You got some people back in the defensive secondary. We called T.J. Robinson's name a few times. We saw Brock was in there for a while, too. How would you evaluate that unit in this game as they kind of get back at least a little closer to full speed?
Yeah. Really there was one bad play right after that. We had 2 bad plays back-to-back, right? We had the unfortunate fumble on the kickoff return right there with a minute left, and then a one-play touchdown. And that's kind of what I told our guys today in the team meeting. Hey, sometimes bad things happen, right? Sometimes we don't want it to happen. We fumble, but that doesn't mean they got the ball at the 40. That doesn't mean they have to score, right? If we hold them, even if they get a field goal right there, right, that's net 4 points for us. Those plays count, right? And so that was just disappointing. We lost that one. They made a nice play, and we weren't in position there, and just gave up kind of one big play in the passing game. So that was probably the biggest disappointment. But I did feel like two of those interceptions where we were in zone and we were bringing some pressure, and those defensive ends were able to kind of get back there in the backfield a little bit and make the quarterback have to let the ball go a little earlier than he wanted to, and we were in some of those voids. So I think that was some progress there. We still have to find a way on third down, not to give up the easy throw and catches. That's something we still got to kind of work on. But overall, I've been pleased that from where we were at the beginning of the year, just giving up some one play, big play, touchdown throw and catch. We really have limited that here over the last few games. We just had that one that was real costly there before the half.
Coach, I want to talk about a guy. You've seen him on the other end of some not so good plays. But when you talk about reliability and when you talk about a guy showing up, it seems like he's been the guy that's been there every play this year. I don't know how many plays I can count that he hasn't been on the field. I'm talking about Matthew Hill. Seems like he's a player who really has a lot of heart and who's brought a lot to your defense. And when you guys are struggling with depth, I just always enjoy seeing him out on the field, giving it his all, regardless of the results sometimes.
So you're very observant, and that's point number 2 for you if we're keeping score over here. Come on, Jim, it's 2-0. But
I'm pacing myself.
He's going to let the young guy burn himself out.
So Matt Hill played 94 snaps on defense, and what people you don't realize is, Will Jones was the starter going into the season. We brought both Will Jones and Matt Hill in to play that safety position, and man, we were really excited in fall camp watching those guys. They were probably going to share time and felt like they were going to do really good. And whenever we had the injury to Will, really Matt was in a position where, behind him we really didn't have what we needed there to be able to share a lot of time. And so he's had to go out there, and as a DB you got to have a short memory, right? It hasn't always been pretty, but one thing you can know when you turn on when you get a watch is he's going to be out there and he's going to be going full speed, right? And he's a talented player that hasn't played a lot of defense. He went to Auburn as a wide receiver.
Wow.
He was a wide receiver for 2 years, and then we brought him here and asked him to go play on the defensive side because of his length. We wanted to get longer there. We wanted to be able to get faster, and he's going through some growing pains, right? It's kind of like a first-year quarterback going out there. You're going to have some good plays, and then you're going to have some bad plays. And right now, he's given up more plays than he wants to. But what I do know is it matters to him, and I know he's a guy that's going to give great effort, and he's going to be a lot better for that. And he's probably looking forward to when Will Jones can get back next year and be able to share some of those reps. But it's tough. And when you're out there, and again, when you're having trouble against the run and you got to commit more people, you have to put strain somewhere. And so there's certain times we try to protect him at certain times, but there's certain times where it is one-on-one, and he's got to improve in some of his technique and all that. But if you just talked about who gives great effort consistently, it doesn't matter if he's on the backside of a play, he's going to run and try to be the first guy over there.
Bulls and the Temple Owls, Saturday night, 7 o'clock, Raymond James Stadium. We continue along the weekly show with Allen Mogridge. He coaches the offensive line. He's also the assistant head coach here at USF football. Coach, thanks for being with us. Your O-line, veteran guys. That's got to be kind of a joy to have guys that have that many games behind them, and they've worked really well as a unit this year.
They really have. Anytime you got a group of kids that have played together, that's something that you cannot exchange. You know what I mean? It's like you talk about that next level of football. Those guys, they always are willing to take a chance on a dude who's been in the league a while, played in some wars. And that's one of the things that this group, it's a veteran group. There's a group of kids that, you can coach certain things with a young lineman till you're blue in the face, but until they've felt it, until they've done it, until they've, there's just something about the do. in offensive line play. And anytime you've had a group that's been together, you know what I mean? And right now, you know, you need a veteran group because the hardest thing when things don't go your way and when you don't like it, like the easiest decision we can make every day is not to come to work. You know what I mean? Like some days, man, it's you know, you don't come to work. You know what I mean? Hey, it didn't go your way, but you know what? That's life. Sometimes in your marriage, it's going to be hard. You know what I mean? Love my wife to death. But working a marriage and making it successful and looking at your kids and having a family, like, bro, that's the second drive. That's the third drive in the fourth quarter. That's when it's time. You know what I mean? And you gotta just kind of keep coming to work. And having a veteran group is really good because they understand you got to come to work. You know what I mean? Hey, it didn't go your way, man. That's life. You know what I mean? It's life. Life is going to come at you hard, and the world don't care. You got to get up and get back to work and keep working for the things that you value, for your core beliefs and the things you value and the things we value as a room. You know what I mean? Because we talk a lot in that room about, you know, your film's your resume. Like, that's it. Like, after the first game of the year, this film gets sent out, and everybody gets to see you. Right? They may not know you. Some dudes may have recruited you back in the day. They may remember you. But the reality of it is, man, is that film right there, that's your body of work for this thing that you've chosen to do with a huge part of your life. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. So I guess that's one way to describe having a veteran group. You know what I mean? I got a good group of kids. The thing I love the most about them is they learn. They learn and they're willing to continue to learn, and they're hungry. They're hungry. You know what I mean? And, you know, we just keep trying to press them. Like, I just keep trying to press them and keep them hungry every single day. And, you know, like, it's great for like a Cole Best and an Andrew Kilfoyle to come into this room and see a group of kids, because I told these guys at the beginning of the year, like, hey, dude, like, y'all have had, and again, you know, you've had different people come in here in your room, right? But the reality of it is until you decide it's your room, it's yours. And you let me be a part of your room, you're going to keep getting the same results. You know what I mean? Because the reality is y'all played enough football. Now it's time to make decisions. And once you make one hard decision in life, you can make another one, right? If you decide to do something hard, and there are hard things, I'm telling you, like, these guys have been through some hard things together. You know what I mean? And, you know, I couldn't be more proud to be able to say I'm their coach. You know what I mean? To be part of their ride, whichever way it goes, right? I'm locking arms. We're going to go swing. And you know what? Sometimes it don't go your way. And that's life, man. It really is, you know, and I get it. I've been doing this for 20 years. I understand. This ain't the first polo I've worn, okay? So, but this group of kids, right, I mean, they're, you know, I've got a little bit of energy. I like them, you know what I mean? I think they're good kids and they work hard, you know. Now, the reality is like, can we take, yeah, and that's the challenge, is to keep them stepping and going in the right direction. You know what I mean? Because they're good dudes. They're good dudes. Like, I love watching them grow. I love watching them get better. I love celebrating, like, because they're taking things from the meeting to the field, then the field to the next game, and it's growing. You know what I mean? And it's growing. And sometimes, man, you don't know when the rock's going to break. You just keep swinging. You just keep swinging on that rock, and pretty soon it's going to break. And when it breaks, it's going to break. But, you know, you can't stop swinging. It ain't ever going to break if you stop swinging, you know. So I guess, yeah, that's a veteran O-line group, right? That's what we're talking about. I'm sorry.
Yeah. You know, I played the game for a while. Yeah. Been around it. And you meet certain players, right? You meet certain coaches, and those guys are what makes the game special, right?
Sure.
You're one of those guys. You know, your boss says it, and it's a joy to be around you and get to have these conversations with you. I know this ain't the first polo you wore, hopefully it's the last. Right?
Amen. Amen.
Turn it white, black, or gold, depending on the game week. But there's a sweet spot, right? As a player, I felt it my senior year, where it's just like thinking you're no longer thinking.
Amen.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
When you get there, right? Like you talk all the time, and it's like when the game slows down, and you kind of see
it's like super slow. It's
and
like
and it's just like they talk about what was it, the Jordan special that came on during COVID, right? And finding that groove and that rhythm, and like you can you tell a young player things, you're telling them things, like an older player's feeling those things. Yeah, like I felt the linebacker roll here. That 3 technique came under me. I just pushed it off with a hand, and I rolled up and just gave it just enough.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about, yeah.
How does a guy get there?
Reps. Like play the do.
No, what I'm saying, there's some guys that have a ton of reps and never get there.
The do.
Explain it.
Okay, the do. You've got to do. So how do we create that?
Right.
How am I as your coach, right? Because we've all got drills, right? Like I could give you a list of drills and be like, yeah, go do these drills. But how do I, like, bro, I got to watch what you do on Saturday so that I know what you need, so that I can get you where you need to be, so that at the end of the day, this fist closed down and we're swinging with 5. We ain't swinging with 1 open. You know what I mean? You can't win a fight with an open hand. You know what I mean? So how do you get there but you constantly say it like, okay, let's go clip by clip. What did you see here? What did you feel here? Why did you put your body there? And then you try to simulate that so that the next time, the other thing, like, and this was because I was with Coach Davis for a long time, Butch Davis, like he would say all the time to me, and to everyone around him, he's like, all your mind knows is you took a rep. All your mind knows is it was a rep. Whatever your passion is, like you just like, if you think about reaching a 3 technique, right? Where's your first step go? Where's your second step go? I want to put my backside fist in the gut. I want to put my outside hand here, and I want to go ahead and steer that block. If he gets it inside, I'm shutting the door. If he tries to ride, that's why my fist is in the gut. I'm going to turn it and run and accelerate my feet. I just took a rep. I just took a rep of a 3 technique getting reached. And all your mind knows when you visualize it and when you think about it is it's a rep. Your mind knows you just took a rep, like with your golf swing, with whatever your passion is, like probably you shedding a block and whatever it is. Like, so Coach would just say, like how you talk to yourself was exactly what Coach Scott says every day. How are we talking to ourselves? How do you talk to yourself? It's going to get hard out there. It's going to be, but right, the final 48, the last 48 hours before that game, what are you doing? Because you're going to feed. You're feeding something. You're feeding something every day. Every one of us, adult, like I don't care what you're doing. Like my 9-year-old daughter, she's feeding something every day. My 17-year-old is, my 14-year-old is, your kids are, your wife, your husband. So how are you feeding it? This is what we do, right? I mean, you're full scholarship. Like, so how can we get you to get it better? All your mind knows is you took a rep. That's it. So you're going to take X amount of reps, like reps on the field. We're going to simulate some reps in individual period. We're going to try to simulate some things there. But are you going to take enough ownership of yourself and enough ownership of what it is you're trying to do? Because really, man, like everybody here's got to lock arms. Like we've all got to do, and that is the do. So how do you get to the do? First, you got to decide you're going to do.
Right.
And then there's a process with which that you do. Like to get to the do, like to make it go, there's a process, man. Like this takes work. Like it does. Like this is hard. You know what I mean? Now, we all find joy in what we do, and there's nothing else. There's nothing else I can imagine myself doing. You know what I mean? But like every clip of film that I watch, I'm trying to say, okay, how can this help? How can this help Brad see this pressure a little better? How can this help Meach on that backside cutoff? What can I watch here? What am I seeing about this defensive end over here on the right side for Dono? You know what I mean? What's going to help Blanche right here? Wait a minute, man. Hey, dude, I was watching this. I said all the time to these, hey, because in the off season I watch a lot of NFL tape, right? You know what I mean? And I'll just come by and I'll be like, hey, Trey, man, have you ever watched the tackle set at the Colts?
Most of the time it's no.
He'll be like, this tackle's at the coast. I'm like, yeah, just watch him set. And, like, you try to find a thing that's, like, comparing a guy to here. You know, you do studies on guys, and it's awesome because you'll just put clips together and you can just – but again, it's like, okay, so what is it we're doing? Like, I wasn't put here to, like, not be – I wasn't put here to not be good at what I'm trying to do. Like, I'm not here because I want to just kind of be okay. Like, you know, just check the box off and cash a check. That's not why I'm here. And the group of dudes that come to work with me, like, they know very quickly that that's not what we're about. There's a standard with what's going to happen the second we hit that grass, and I've got a pretty interesting way to get your attention, and we'll make sure that we're doing the things it's going to take to do. And, you know, that's how you get there, man. It's like, that's a whole lot of words. I don't even know if I answered your question.
No, you did. Five times.
But, like, to get to the do, like, you have to be immersed.
Right.
Like, we only get X amount of hours that we can go do this and give you the looks you're going to need and give you the practice you're going to need. So, like, you've got to be willing to sit and use the resources you have. You know what I mean? Like, I laugh all the time. I say it to the guys. I'm like, hey, man, nobody's ever charged admission to the dumbbell rack. You know what I mean? Like, you can go do all the curls you want, man. Like, ain't nobody ever charged admission to the dumbbell rack.
Right.
Hey, the film room's free, bro. You can do what you need to do.
Yeah.
To get where you want to get. But then you start seeing, like, so how does you know, I say it all the time, like, notebooks, right? Notebooks. Kevin Mawai. The Kevin Mawai story from Doug Marrone. Kevin Mawai is a first ballot no-brainer Hall of Famer, right? He ran out of space in his notebook, like, year 12 in the NFL. He asked his hey, coach, can I have another notebook? Like, I've never met the man, but I want to go hug him.
Yeah.
Like, bro, like, do you understand?
Yeah.
Like, and then you start talking about these vets in the NFL, right? Like, and coach, like, these guys that have been there at that and coached at that highest level. And I talk to these guys about it all the time. Like, you play common opponent. You know better than me. I got cut fast. You got to play in the league. But, like, you have a notebook that says Bengals. And it says, first time you play them, there's all this stack of notes, and you flip it over, and here's game 2. And here's year 2, game 1.
Yeah.
And here's year 2, game 2. And, right, so it's like, what do you want to be about? I mean, what are we doing here? You know, and that's how you get to that spot where you make it slow down. And that's what's so hard for a young person coming in. You know what I mean? Like, when you are a freshman coming in and you're trying to find your way and everything's a lot new and all these things, that's how you get the game to slow down. That's how you find your rhythm. That's how you settle in. You know what I mean? And you become what it is you're going to be.
Yes, sir.
You know, like, and that's at least that's how I approach it. That's how, like, the good ones I've been around. Like, I mean, I was fortunate enough to be on a team in college. Like, Jeff Saturday was our center. That's in my mind, that's what centers are. That's what linemen are. You know what I mean? Like, you know, that's a pretty high standard, and that's a pretty good example. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I appreciate that.
No, so it's good.
Well, that's where the enthusiasm and the excellence of the USF offensive line comes from. Coach Allen Mogridge. Thanks, Coach. We'll see you out there against Temple.
Yes, sir.
We will be back with one of the best of the Bulls' offensive line. Meach is next, Demetris Harris, when we return after this on the USF Football Radio Network. Welcome back. We're talking Bulls offensive line on this segment of the show, and the last one too. Coach Mogridge wore us out a little bit, boy. He's just the best with all that enthusiasm and with everything he says. Demetris Harris, you play for this guy. What's that like? Tell us a little bit about him and how he influences your group of fellow offensive linemen.
I mean, I love Coach Mo. Like, I love him. Coach Mo gave me my first offer in high school. I was a sophomore in high school, and so he gave me the first opportunity to play on the D1 level. So I have, like, so much respect for him because, you know, he gave me that first opportunity. As a coach, he's great. He's, like, enthusiastic. He's fired up. He's always on go. He gonna keep it real with you at all times. So I mean, if you're doing something good, he's gonna praise you. If you're not up to par, you know, he gonna let you know. You know, but it's all love, you know. He's not gonna sugarcoat it with you, you know, and I think as players we can respect that, you know. You get some coaches that's kind of, you know, they up one day, they kind of down another day, so it's kind of hard to read them. But whenever you talk to Coach Mo, like, he's gonna keep it real with you, and like all that as a coach, but he's like an even better person though, like outside of football. So it makes it so much easier to play for somebody when they had, you know, their best interest at heart, you know.
First of all, happy belated birthday.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Also Duval County.
You know.
All right. You know, one of the things that, and I think it's important because I know it's difficult to get here. And when I say here, I mean we're not only your teammates, not only other coaches, but the head coach says that you're a leader, right? Yeah. A lot of guys think they're leaders. Yeah. But for other people to say that you're a leader, how'd you get here? And I'm not just saying about your time at USF. Talk about your life experiences and what has gotten you to this moment where you're leading your team to get back to where USF should be.
Well, I give a lot of credit to my parents. Like both my parents, they were in the military, so I grew up like in the military background. You know, disciplined. You know, very strict. So just growing up, you know, you just had to always be on your P's and Q's. Also, like my parents, they have a tutoring company as well, so grades were always like, that was it. Like my parents didn't care if I played football or not. They always cared about my grades. Like I couldn't come in the house with nothing less than an A growing up. Wow. So it was like that elite when it came to grades, and then just them just being good people, just being around it all the time, and obviously being, you know, playing well at my sport. You get respect from that, and you know, you just kind of combine all of that into one, and then, you know, you start out little league football. It's like, okay, I'm having fun, but like I'm pretty good at this. And then you get to high school, it's like, okay, I can play college, you know. And then, you know, people just kind of gravitate towards winners and towards people who are the best at things and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that I'm the best at anything, but when you're doing well at things, people just want to be a part of it, and people gravitate towards you. And so I get to college, you know, I'm thinking I'm the best thing since sliced bread, you know, and then I got some dogs in front of me, you know, so I had to wait my turn. I learned the ropes, and I redshirted my first year here. I got bigger, stronger, faster. The game slowed down for me, and I just rolled with the punches, you know. I've been starting since a redshirt freshman, and then just to play on the field, academics, off the field, just being a good person. I think all of that tied into one. It just what makes me a leader, you know.
Coach Scott told us that there may not be anybody else on this team more than you that transformed their body in the last year. Yeah. Last year, you know, all the schedules go out the window, and football players are about schedules. Yeah. I mean, you know, everything's regimented and planned, and then all that gets thrown out the window last year. Tell us about the steps you took between these last 2 years to get yourself in the physical condition that you are now.
Okay, so well, at the end of last year, I had hopped on the scale, and it barked at you. Yeah, it was three and forever. And I was like, man, and I had caught COVID last year too. So I was out for about a month. Like, I missed like the back end of training camp, and I missed the first 3 games of the season just because back then, you know, that was when COVID was like really COVID. You know, we didn't know too much about it. You know, it was too many what ifs. So I was staying home, and they were just bringing me food every day. I couldn't work out. I wasn't sweating. I was just eating, you know. And so came towards the end of the season, you know, out of shape, gut huge. I'm like, man, something got to shake if I'm trying to, you know, get to where I want to go. And so I just took it upon myself. I was like, I got to change my body. And I've always worked hard. I've always pushed in the workouts and stuff like that. But it came down to like my eating habits. And so my biggest, I don't have like a big sweet tooth. I just like to eat. And so it wasn't necessarily about pushing the table back. It was just pushing the plate back. It was more just what I was consuming. So it started in right before Christmas, like December 25th, right before Christmas, and it went through spring ball. I cut out fried foods. I cut out pork. I cut out red meat. I cut out sweets. I cut out juices and like sodas, and I cut out alcohol. So I did that for about four or 5 months. And like at the end of spring, it was like kind of what Coach Scott said. I felt better. I had dropped 20, 25 pounds. I had cut like 5-6% body fat just from eating. Just from eating right for that, that short amount of period of time. So I'm not like still on it. I still try to like lay off the pork. I don't drink sodas or nothing like that. But like for that time, I was like to make USF a better football program, I have to be the best.
Wow.
Demetris Harris, I have to be, right? And so I just took that upon myself, and it went like that.
Successful.
Yeah.
I look back during my playing career, and I think some of the more special games is when you look in the stands and you can't see a seat, right?
Yeah.
There's fans everywhere. There hasn't been the experience for you guys these last 2 years. Obviously, last year with COVID, this past game, weren't a lot of fans in the stands, but you guys went out and played a phenomenal game. Ultimately, didn't come out with the win.
Right.
As a senior, whether you decide to go play another year, as a senior, a guy who's been here and been a part of success, if you could write an open letter to the fans, how would it start?
I would like to thank all the fans, the ones that's coming, the ones that's not here. Like we're on the way. USF football, we around the corner. Like we pulling out the back way. We coming. Just keep believing in us. Like I think the haters, I think the believers, I think the people who on the fence. I thank everybody. If you're not believing in us, we just using that for motivation. Like the true fans, we love them too. We love everybody. But we're definitely coming. Rome wasn't built overnight, and it's gonna be something special. Like you can see the progress between last year, between these first 6 games and beyond. It's the only way is up. So we're definitely coming.
Special.
Good stuff. Thank you for taking time for us. Do you have a good birthday, all right?
Yeah. I had that. Besides,
did you bring back the alcohol?
Just one day.
I plead the fifth.
Demetris Harris, thanks a lot for taking time for us. All right, stay with us. Sam and I back to wrap it up after this on the USF Football Radio Network. Bulls are back in action at home Saturday night against Temple. That'll be a 7 o'clock kickoff at Raymond James. Sam, you have told me on occasion in the past that the 45-0 losses are less painful than the 32-31s when you do a lot of things right and you fight so hard and you wind up just a single point short like the Bulls did last week. I'm curious to see how this team bounces back. All the indications that we have is that they're just toughening up and getting ready to go out and take it to Temple on Saturday night. I kind of like what I'm seeing in terms of the mindset of this team.
I agree, and that's the same thing I feel. I think a lot of times when you see a team that isn't having the success that they should be having, you obviously take a look at the internal makeup of that team. I believe this team is made of the right stuff. I believe this team is together. It has continuity. I believe the attitude and the character of this team is intact. And I think the foundation that they're building and what they're building here as a team, I think it's going to be something that is sustainable, and I think it's going to be sustained success over a period of time and not just when they get there, they have one good season. I think what Coach Scott is doing is he's taking and he's rebuilding the fabric and what this team is made of. I mean, you sit and you talk to Demetrius, and you can feel his heart, and you can feel that despite how things are going, this is a place he wants to be. Obviously, you always like to hear a guy says that he enjoys being coached by someone. So again, this team is made of the right stuff, and I'm excited to watch them play against Temple. I like to see how Timmy McClain responds. He didn't have the greatest game this past game. I like to see how the defense responds. You go out and you make some special plays. Can you do it again? And you also, obviously, you had 2 returns for a touchdown, 1 being called back. You want to see how the special teams respond. So what I know is a lot of opposing teams are turning on this game film and saying, hey, this team is a lot better than what their record indicates, and we're going to start seeing that down the line. They got to get a bowl game. That's pretty much the best goal. The goal that they have out in front of them is can USF get a bowl game? I think it'll happen, but we'll see it starting this week with Temple.
Bulls will need to start racking up the wins, and they'll try to do that on Saturday. Conference play, 7 o'clock, Raymond James Stadium against the Temple Owls. Thanks for joining us tonight. Short week next week as the Bulls travel to East Carolina for a Thursday night game, and we'll be back with another edition of the show coming up next week on the USF Football Radio Network.